economic advisor to basically every corporate Democrat, Larry Summers, went on Bloomberg to talk about the COVID relief bill, and he made some news. Here's what he said.
I don't think the $2,000 checks make much sense. The real issue is going to be sustaining this expansion. If you think about it, the 908 stimulus bill probably would pay out $200 to $250 billion a month for the next 3 months. The level of compensation is running about $30 billion a month below what we would have expected it would. GDP is running about $70 billion a month below what we would have expected it would. So in a way that's quite unprecedented, we have stimulus already much more than filling out the hole. And given that lots of the hole is from the fact not that people don't want to spend, but that they can't spend because they can't take a flight or they can't go to a restaurant, I don't necessarily think that the priority should be on promoting consumer spending beyond where we are now. So I'm not even sure that I'm so enthusiastic about the $600 checks. And I think taking them to $2,000 would actually be a pretty serious mistake that would risk a temporary overheat. I would like to see more assistance to state and local governments. I would like to see more money put into testing, more money put into accelerating vaccines. But gosh, David, I think it would be a real mistake to be going to $2,000. And I have to say that when you see the two extremes agreeing, you can almost be certain that something crazy is in the air. And so when I see a coalition of Josh Hawley, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump getting behind an idea, I think that's time to run for cover.
There it is. There's that argument again. Attack the messenger. I don't like Donald Trump and I don't like Bernie Sanders, so if they agree on something, it must be wrong. Yes. Yes. I mean, this guy is like a caricature of an out-of-touch elitist. Doesn't matter if Genghis Khan came up with the idea. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. You know, Trump and Bernie both talk about how we should end wars. Does that mean we should stay in these wars forever? Don't answer that, Larry Summers, because you'll probably say yes. But I mean, these people are ridiculous. In that he's giving you a peek inside that Washington, D.C. conventional wisdom bubble, where that really is one of the things they think. Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump, Josh Hawley. They're not down the line establishment thinkers, therefore they must be wrong. I mean, he argues, no, I don't, $2,000 doesn't make sense. And also, I'm not even sure I'm on board with the 600. That's what he said. Larry, people have to pay their bills. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're effectively in a new depression. Have you seen the numbers? 60% of small businesses that closed are now closed permanently. They're now gone. More than half of small businesses. Do you realize how insane that is? Do you realize that, what's the number I read? 28 million people could become homeless? 28 million. 28 million. It's only like, and I don't mean to downplay this or diminish this because it's a lot, but there's like 500,000 now. 28 million we're talking about. 30% of people, and this is going back 3-4 months, but 30% of people couldn't pay their rent or couldn't pay their mortgage. People are absolutely struggling in a way that they haven't maybe ever. You know, we have these giant swings now in the job market too. The number of people who are unemployed losing their jobs, or if they're working, it's a gig economy job and they're taking giant pay cuts. I mean, we're in a terrible situation, and this guy, because he's comfortable, is like, I don't know, $2,000 payments, I don't know about that. $600 payments, I don't even know about that. And just to show you the kind of guy that Larry Summers is, this is how wrong he's been throughout his entire career. So he was a top economic advisor to President Obama, and actually every corporate Democrat. He was for Bill Clinton as well. So one of the things that he was a top advocate of is repealing Glass-Steagall under Bill Clinton. And for those of you who don't know, that's one of the things that led to the subprime mortgage crisis in the Great Recession. Glass-Steagall was a very important piece of regulation which set up a wall of separation between commercial banking and investment banking. So it used to be that when you go deposit your money in the bank, they can't use that for very risky casino capitalist bets. He got rid of that wall of separation. And he made it so that, yeah, you could go put your money in the local bank, and then they could do crazy derivative bets and, blow it all. And then eventually need the government to step in and bail them out. So, I mean, this guy is a total neoliberal deregulator. His ideology has been, proven wrong time and time again, in the sense that a lot of the things he advocates for cause material harm. So, big fighter for repealing Glass-Steagall. He also was advising Obama during the Great Recession when there were 5 million homes that were seized by the big banks. So he was an advocate of, hey, let's do the bailout. To the extent we do bailouts, let's do them from the top down. So let's bail out Wall Street, let's bail out corporations. Instead of bailing out homeowners, if you're going to do a bailout, you should have done bottom up and bail out the homeowners. He didn't do that, so 5 million people were kicked out of their homes. He also argued for dumping toxic waste in poor countries. Shows you how much he thinks of the developing countries and how he thinks there's a rigid hierarchy of who deserves good things and who doesn't. He reduced the size of the Obama stimulus bill to under $1 trillion. When they were debating the size of the stimulus, he came in and said, we're not going to do over $1 trillion. And he also convinced Obama to push for tax cuts instead of infrastructure spending. This is Larry Summers. And according to the Wall Street Journal, he called Senator Chris Dodd and he asked him to remove caps on executive pay at firms that were receiving stimulus money, including Citigroup. And by the way, he's getting paid by these financial institutions all the time. Like, he took quite a bit of money from these big financial institutions, and then would you look at that, he's saying, let's do bailouts with no strings attached and don't limit executive pay. So this guy is, he's a caricature of the out-of-touch elitist who doesn't care about working people, and he would casually go out there. Like, he doesn't even think he's saying anything controversial when he's like, no, I don't want $2,000 payments. No, I don't want $600 payments. Or he's agnostic on the $600 payments, or however he phrased it. But he doesn't even think he's saying anything controversial because he's been so deep in that conventional wisdom bubble, that establishment bubble, that elitist bubble, that he thinks like, what do you mean? Me and everybody around me, we all agree on that. So how could I possibly be wrong? You're wrong because your ideology is not an ideology which creates peace and prosperity for the majority of the American people. I mean, again, out-of-touch elitist is the best way to describe this guy. And it's a joke. It's a joke. And now you see how we have a situation where corporate Democrats can be so bad that it's easy for a fake populist like Trump to exploit that rift. Because the American people know guys like Larry Summers aren't looking out for me. To be fair, the American people don't even really know who Larry Summers is. Most don't. But with these kinds of decisions being made, it causes material harm. And then when it causes material harm, you open up the door for a fake populist like Trump to come in. And, Trump can pretend like he's for the working man and woman. And then he gets support. And again, you have guys like Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama to thank for the rise of Trump and Trumpism. That's not to say that there wasn't also like a racial element to it and there wasn't a culture war element to it. Of course there was, for sure. But there was also an economic element to it. And you open the door for somebody on the right to be a fake populist and make people think, oh, maybe that guy's for me, because I know that the elitist corporate Democrats aren't for me. So there you have it. There you have it. This guy is giving advice when he's been wrong about virtually every major decision he's ever been involved with.